the Dark Souls podcast. My name's Matt Lees, and I'm joined by Philippa War.
Hello.
And Jim Trinker.
Hello.
So Philippa obviously from RPS, which will introduce you better, and Jim from Video Game.
Yeah, been a while.
It's been a while, but it's lovely to have you on here. What have you guys been playing recently? I'm just jumping straight into it this time.
Pleasantries.
No pleasantries, no vol-au-vents, no starters.
Yeah,
Give us dinner.
I think
nice.
we
the podcasting game's been going so long, and then people are just like, "Come on, just get to the point."
It's true. Well, last time we talked just about GDC and VR, so we didn't even talk about any real games at all.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about a game, or I can talk about a game. What do you want to do?
Well, so I've been doing that thing of going, I love people. People are great. Playing a whole bunch of multiplayer stuff like Overwatch and Heroes of the Storm, and then going, I hate people. People are awful. And then binging on The Witness and like a bunch of other puzzle games. So we can talk about any of those if you would like.
That's
or
funny.
we can just like float straight past that.
That's like you just like ran and danced your way around a party and then locked yourself in a cupboard.
Essentially, and I've been doing that on and off like for the last week is just, yeah.
Well, Overwatch I've got a code for coming soon, hopefully, because I want to check out with Brat.
Add me.
I'll add you as well, yeah. I didn't know you were playing it.
Of course, Brat's involved.
Brat with his fine taste in video games. Dick.
Yeah, this is like when he got me into Chaos Reborn. It was like all we played at lunch.
It's good, that.
It is good. I need to get back into it. It's been updated a lot
I
since
know,
last
yeah.
played it.
The single player stuff is guff, and it's a shame actually because it was...
Is it? Oh,
yeah.
Well, it was always going to be, really, wasn't it?
I guess so, but it somehow took the wind out of my sails. I went from being like, this is a really great, solid game, to being like,
Yeah, it's got a shit bit now.
yeah, I kind of wish it didn't have it.
Yeah.
Like, but then,
Yeah.
I don't know. I need to go back and give it another fair...
But weirdly, though, if a good single-player game has a shit multiplayer, you can get over that quite easily. Like Mass Effect 3.
Mass Effect 3 had a good multiplayer bit.
Did it?
Yeah.
I thought it was
Mass
shit.
Effect- Oh, no, it was
maybe
great.
I was just bad at it.
Yeah, you're probably just bad. It was actually really loved. I think they're still running the servers for that because people's still playing it.
Really?
Yeah, I was talking to a guy at BioWare at GDC and he was saying, I think they're still running the servers.
I'm amazed.
It was because it was really fun.
Yeah.
It was really fun. It had that kind of like, playing... It's like largely cooperative waves, but then had the lovely thing of like, you got a little chest, you open it up and you get some new cards, and it was doing all of that stuff, like, but not in a horrible way, in a kind of quite nice way.
I should have thought of a better example. Fucking hell.
You set me off now, mate. Fucking gloves on.
Did Alpha Protocol have multiplayer? No, it didn't. It definitely didn't. But... yeah, sorry, Overwatch and Brat just gave me some fond
that's
memories.
fine.
Sorry, carry on.
But the reason that I went back to Overwatch this week, I mean, I've been playing it anyway, but the reason that I sort of have that sort of new wave of enthusiasm for what I'm doing was I sort of got into a rut with the characters that I played and kind of the fact that, the whole thing is supposed to be about hero swapping, but all anyone really wants to do is get the highest kill count or whatever, or, the majority of it. So you end up with all these people playing, the super high-powered, like, blasty heroes or the sniper or, anything like that. And so I'm just like, I'll do support. I'll be a tank. I'll do all of those things. And so, but this week they introduced the weekly brawl mode thing like they have in Hearthstone. Yeah. And so it's kind of, it's basically just novelty stuff. But I find that stuff has actually been really good at forcing me to try new characters, because what they're doing for the beta is to like test out the modes and sort of do it quickly. They've sped it up to just changing it out every day. And so I've sort of tried a few of them just for work, really. But it was kind of like, I now get this character because I've played like 3 games where you can only play Farah and Mercy and stuff. And they're both like flying characters. And so with Mercy, you can kind of like press a button to zoom to another character, and Farah flies. So you can be in the air with her and fall, really slowly as you heal her or boost her damage and stuff.
Okay.
And sort of like... having sort of an extended practice with that pairing made me really excited to play more Mercy and figure out how she works in a sort of normal team setting, I guess. And then when it was sort of all Soldier 76 all the bloody time, that was a lot less interesting, but it was still like a different flavour to the games than you usually get. So I'm kind of wondering if that will be good at getting people to be a bit more swappy.
I found the funny thing when I used to play Dota was that before I got round to playing all of the characters, there was always this thing of whenever you got beaten by a character, and you'd never played them, they sort of mythologize them in your mind. You're like, oh God, that character's crazy. It's so dangerous. Oh my God. And then when eventually you play it, you'd be like, yeah, this character's amazing. And then you get killed and you're like, oh, what's going on? And then you'd actually start to realize that actually, I think Faceless Void's the one I always remember. I was terrified of Faceless Void. And then I realised after playing, I'm like, this guy's weak as piss. Like, he's like a paper bag.
I know where.
And that's the thing. It's like, the problem is I was running away from him rather than just being like, all right, mate, I'm going to kill you. But yeah, no, I'm interested in Overwatch, especially because it seems like it has that problem of everyone wanting to be the big character who kills all the people. But then...
Well, they're doing some interesting things to sort of maybe try and... not exactly get around that, but so the characters are even I really took against Lucio at the start of the game, and he's been changed a bunch since, I think, just little buffs and slight tweaks and stuff because beta, but and I think I also sort of got to the point where I'd figured it out a bit better, and people were settling into a meta where you could actually figure out what to do with a character, and so he has this thing where you can toggle between giving a speed boost and giving a healing boost, and sort of also get shots off and stuff like that. So he's kind of I think he's a good all-rounder, but with spectacular team playing capabilities and quite a bit of leeway for when you use your ultimate, so you don't quite fuck it up. So,
that visible thing. That's the one thing I wonder about this is obviously when you're playing with randos, you have the problem of everyone being like, I will be the hero, and you go, no, my dear, not everybody can be the hero. But also when you're playing with 5 friends, do you have the same? Because I remember the thing with Dota was it was all about playing with a team of people all in chat.
So this is the interesting thing, because I don't have that many friends on Blizzard's Battle.net who are in
of course,
the
who are in the beta. Otherwise you'd be laughing.
And so that's why I'm like, okay, you and Brett are in. Come on, join me. Let's actually see what that experience is.
Because I remember obviously...
Because I've only really had it when I was with 2 colleagues at Road to BlizzCon, because we all went on one of the banks of gaming PCs.
Sure.
And there were a bunch of strangers.
And let's be honest, were they nubs? Were they nubs?
They were devs.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so
we went to
probably,
the early
definitely.
thing, and so they were kind of, but the thing that I was
colleagues.
No, there were 2 colleagues and then 3 of the devs were joining us. Anyway, but the thing that I was going to say about them making it more sort of support friendly is they have recently changed. So they have this play of the match thing that they show you at the end, and you all have to sit through and watch somebody else being great, or you get to make everyone sit through you being great for a few seconds.
Cool.
And they've tweaked how their systems scan for that, and so it sort of has different categories now, and some of them are things like it tries to predict whether the thing that someone was in the process of doing when they got killed would have had a big impact on the match, like if it was a big ultimate ability that they were about to hit a bunch of people with, then it sort of gives extra weighting to the person who took them out, which is really interesting and sort of helps maybe pick out actual sort of...
It's like a sort of Minority Report approach to scoring, isn't it? It's mad.
Yeah, so
and
it isn't just it was the person who got 4 headshots.
Also with support characters, there's a bunch of other sort of criteria that it's assigned to maybe pick out those plays. It's off at the moment, as in it's not picking out particularly interesting things that I've seen. You can kind of see that it's doing it differently than it used to, because different heroes are coming up on the rotation of okay, that person did something cool. It's not just Bastion.
Well, this is my
shooting people as they come through a door. But,
this is my question then that I'm trying to get at, in the fact that the thing is, the algorithm might be able to look at that and go, okay, well, he was going to do that. But the thing about Dota or League of Legends is that because it's top down in 2D, you always have, if you have an understanding of the game, you always have quite a clear understanding of what's happening and what's going to happen. Just simple things like being able to just quickly look at the map and see the little flecks of red moving through the trees and knowing, okay, there's 2 people coming for me, and then knowing to hide.
Or looking at the timer and going, okay, I think these guys will be over here for this objective.
Yeah, you can't see anyone. You look at the time, it's here. So you have this thing of being like, how well does that work in a first-person 3D kind of environment in terms of knowing what your teammates are doing and also being able to get a sense for what's going on or what people are about to do?
So, you start to get a feel for how characters play, and so where they're likely to be, like the points where you're vulnerable to somebody with a massive shield coming out and slamming and pinning you against something. You can kind of see when they're gearing up for that, or you can that particular sniping spots are really good for where your team is currently needing to push a payload, and so you can learn to sort of guard against that kind of thing. But I also, one of the other reasons that I got back into the idea of playing it was because I went to the talk at GDC about how the audio works and how they've sort of had to play with that and do some interesting things with it to actually make it work for a game, if that makes sense. And so one of the examples would be when you're in a room and somebody is above you. It used to be, I think, like, when they were just building it and not in the beta, like that you could hear their footsteps because the game knew that it was close to you, even though it was a floor away and stuff. And then they realized that it was making people like confused and turn around like, oh god, I think they might be behind me, I don't know where this person is, I don't know how to prioritize this action sequence at this point. And so they actually did it that it works out how loud to make something based on the distance it would take you to walk to that person, or physically get to that person. So if there's something in the way, like a floor, then it works it out differently, and you can actually hear it further away than it would normally be, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it was just little tweaks like that I was just like, there is so much going on.
That's fascinating.
And it made me really interested.
It really is
to play.
like the stuff that you would just never consider until somebody pointed out to you that's the thought process they had to go to. So you're like, oh yeah, well shit. And then, of course, in real life, I mean, that kind of reflects how sound works in real life, right? Because if somebody's, above you, in the room above you, you hear their footsteps and noises like coming down the stairs, and you don't hear through the floor necessarily, right? So well, that makes a lot of fucking sense to me.
But also your brain just knows to filter stuff out, like you hear stuff and it just goes, okay, like right now, when I think about it, I can hear a plane outside the window, but like I hear them all the time. I don't need to hear that noise because my brain doesn't really, it's there, but my brain doesn't really send it to me.
Exactly.
Whereas if you're listening to headphones, everything that's there gets sent, and your brain deals with all of it.
They were also saying that they prioritize enemy sounds as well, so you can always hear the thing that is a threat to you more than you can hear the thing that is your friend just like coming past.
That's fascinating.
And again, would sort of correspond with reality almost.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, it's really interesting. Like I never thought I'd be so interested in like the sound positioning algorithms of Overwatch before.
No, you know what? Actually, it was back when I started going on studio tours and stuff when I was at OXM. The thing that always fascinated me the most was always the audio. But I think because it's so opaque, it's like with visual stuff you can see, and they go, oh, we did this, and you go, it's interesting, and they tell you how they made it look that pretty. But with the audio, there's so much magic and weird stuff going on behind the scenes that you would never even think about.
But it's that thing of, so with audio and with good UI design and with good with all of that stuff, with matchmaking ranking and stuff like that, you're only noticing it if it's gone wrong. And so it's that thing of like, then you sit down and somebody tells you about the work that they do to make it so
unless
you
it's
never see this thing.
Unless it's really sexy. Like I remember with Destiny, where like just the UIs in that game, I immediately was just like, this is fucking lovely. Like that was really nice.
And then you played it for like 800 horrible hours.
Oh, it was great. I tapped out at a really good time with Destiny. I started weaning myself off it after like the first DLC, and I just kept popping in every now and then, playing it for another 8 hours, having a lovely time.
It's like Kramer, just like hello, just like borrowing cereal. All right, this is still ticking over.
Meanwhile, I kept popping in. Everyone else there was going, "Oh, this is disappointing. This isn't." And it's just like you don't need to keep playing it. You can stop. You can
I've always found that funny when like, you've got people who've like pumped like 500 hours into something, going, well, after the 500th hour, I got bored.
Yeah,
this is rubbish. Like, Jesus.
There were a few comments like that about Fallout 4 as well, weren't there? It was just a lot of like, well, after 150 hours, I must say I'm quite disappointed. Just like
it's madness. Like
I'd actually love it. It'd be a really cool, like, because one of the things I really like about one of the things I like about Eurogamer's website is the fact that as a reader, afterwards with the comments, you can choose where you want the threshold to be of comments that you even see. Like, so you can be like anything that's like, and I say anything that's less than 0, I just don't see, which means only upvoted comments even appeared. Everything else just says this has been removed because of this, etc. And I'd love a similar thing of having a filter on Steam of being able to like show me reviews of people who've played it for like 2 to 8 hours, or show me reviews of people who played it for 100 hours. Just because when you're going through reviews and it's like, I hate this game, played it for 300 hours, it's like your opinion means nothing.
There's
like, if you play something for 300 hours and say you hate it, like I don't respect you enough to care what you think.
Yeah,
because you shouldn't do something for 300 hours if you hate it.
Like for like early access games where you see people have been playing. Usually they are like the survival ones that everyone is making.
Yeah,
and like you see people who've played the game for like 8,000 hours. I'm sure was the biggest I saw.
Yeah,
and trashed it. Just like the review sort of mentioned. Well, when I first started, it was very promising, and like. You've spent 8,000 hours playing this fucking game, and you hate it. And why? Like, it just doesn't compute.
Yeah.
Well, it's because they've spent so long looking at it, they found every single crack.
Or it's just like the only time when you want to give feedback is when you're annoyed, I guess.
Yeah,
or like
you're
more likely to. Yeah. So maybe their game had just crashed or something. I don't know.
And it's this perfect storm of like, if you do anything for 150, 200 hours, you're going to fucking detest it unless it's The Witcher 3.
I find that. I mean, it's kind of a joke now, but it's like the way it always works with Quinns will discover a game and go, this game's pretty cool. And I'll be like, oh yeah, I'll check it out. And then he'll stop playing it after about 8 hours. I'll keep going for about 70. And I'll be like, yeah, I didn't really like it that much. But it's just because after 70 hours, you can see, you know exactly what it is.
It's the Bethesda problem, right? I think, because I'm sort of notoriously a massive fan of Bethesda games, like since Morrowind. They've been remaking Morrowind since Morrowind on a sort of every 4 years, which I love. Like Fallout 3 was the best Morrowind remake of all time. But like, it gets very hard to defend Bethesda because they have this reputation for coming out with like buggy stuff and boring stuff, and it's all shit and it's all shallow, and the latest complaint about Bethesda stuff is that it's not made by CD Projekt Red, so it's rubbish. And
it's true though, you can't fault it's a criticism.
I mean, as a criticism, it's pretty solid, right? I mean, and everything gets hit. Fucking EastEnders, Batman, just but.
Imagine EastEnders made by CD Projekt Red. Like everybody dies and has cracking tits.
I was just thinking it would basically be the same, but it would be like sort of EastEnders from a parallel universe.
Yeah, maybe with more leafy glades.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be that far off.
A horse.
It would be like, a horse.
Everyone who left would leave on a horse, not in a taxi.
So. Yeah, it would be just EastEnders as we know it, except like crossed with The Last of Us. I'm feeling
maybe if they took on Casualty or Holby, that would be sort of more of a challenge.
It's probably more their thing as well, because like there's more chance of like disemboweling and stuff.
I want to go back to The Witcher 3 because I played it. I actually managed to make some headway into it. I played it for about 15, 18 hours because actually last time you were on, you were talking about I think Hearts of Stone, or is it what's it called? Expansion?
Something like that, isn't it?
Something like that.
I thought you'd spent 15 to 18 hours tweaking your PC settings for The Witcher.
I did, yeah, I did. And then I didn't play it for about 6-8 months. But I remember Jim was talking about it and it sounded really really cool. So
I remember now. Yeah, the Hearts of Stone.
That's
I previewed that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And anyway, I went back into it and it was good. I think I got just towards the end of the...
It's an extremely good game.
It is, but it's funny because it does so many things that it's almost like one of those games that I realise almost exists in a strange vacuum, and the fact that there's so many things about it you go, why don't all open world games do this? And yet there's so many things it did that I was like, why have you fucking done this?
Yeah.
Like,
it's very unique for me among that kind of open world. Like, as far as I'm concerned, it's a Bethesda game. It's just better than any game Bethesda have made. But but for it to sustain its kind of, and it does do some shitty things, and there's certainly some problematic things in there. But to sustain its level of quality for as long as it does, I mean, I don't think they will ever make a game as good as that, because the first 2 Witcher games they made, and I know people will get upset, were dog shit.
Yeah.
And it's like somehow
the second one had some really cool things in it.
Yeah, I get the impression that the third one is like the game they wanted to make.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
like I couldn't actually believe, because I had a weird thing with The Witcher 2 where I played the first like 6 hours of it about 3 times for different reasons. And I thought it was incredible, and I was like, oh, I've got to go back. And eventually, when I did, it was The Witcher 3. I thought, no, I'll finish the story so I can take my save over and all that, and I'll like, I want to get the most out of the story, so fuck it, let's do it. And I couldn't believe how it was like walking through the front door of a house and realizing that it was a fake house. It was just a Hollywood like 2D house. It was a weird thing of like the first third of that game is just so well made and rich and deep, and then it's just like, you just find harpies. Like, it's just this weird thing. At one point, it's like, bring me 100 harpy feathers. I thought, how many harpies have I to fight? It's like, most of the rest of the game is just harpies. It's like, they've run out of monsters, they've run out of stuff, and suddenly everything just starts looking cheap. And then the game just is suddenly over in a really fast way.
I think it's so front-loaded because
you can just see the money pouring away from it. It's like...
it has to be top-heavy because... I mean, the cold hard reality is that they know that the vast majority of people didn't get much further into Witcher 2 and 3. Like Witcher, the first Witcher game, I was going to say Witcher 1 then, I had burns in my head shouting at me. The Witcher, the first third of that is all right. Like, it's pretty decent. And then, when you get into the city, because there's that whole plot about how the city's kind of walled off and whatever, and you actually get into the city, and there's some interesting stuff with the detective, and then you're in a swamp for fucking 20 hours, and it is the worst game of all time. I've never gotten past that. No, I'll tell you what.
I can't think of many games that do swamps well. I remember that with Lords of Shadow. They had this really inexplicable first level in a swamp that hid from many people the fact that Lords of Shadow was a phenomenally good game.
No,
but it just starts with the worst level ever.
That's the swamp bit of The Witcher. Put me off swamps, for...
Where we going on holiday? Not to a fucking swamp, I'll tell you that. I'm done with swamps.
As a concept, as a thing, as a trope.
As a biome.
Yeah.
Just not into it.
Witcher 2 had a similar thing, because when you get to that bit where there's a fucking battlefield between the two bits, and I was like, this is the swamp, isn't it?
Yeah.
This battlefield's basically a swamp. It's been trampled a bit. And then Witcher 3, because it's open world, you're not kind of funneled into that. There's not a sort of bit of the game that's shit, but you have to get through it. So you got more. And I think that's why Witcher 3 is better than the other two, by the way, because you're never funneled into a shit bit. There's always stuff that you can do that's cool.
Yeah.
But I avoided doing all those quest markers that took me into the big fucking swamp area, because I was like, you're not getting me again. I'm not going into that fucking swamp. And you go into the swamp, and it's actually all right in the Witcher 3.
That was a good swamp,
it's a nice swamp,
Well, it wasn't nice, but it was good.
It's good, but, it's got, like, there's bits people have painted and shit and candy and, it's got sinister undertones, but, it was at least colourful.
I do need to go back to it. It was just weird how actually, like, funnily enough, the one thing that didn't work in it was all of the traditional RPG stuff. It was like, they did such a good job of, like, story and the world that it then felt really jarring when you got a pair of trousers you couldn't put on, or that you couldn't fight this monster but you can fight this monster. Especially when it's like, you can fight this big terrifying looking monster, but you can't fight this really small one because it's a higher level than you, and it's just like the traditional RPG leveling system just felt like massively weirdly jarring
bullshit, isn't
but I think it's because they did the rest of it so well. And with stuff like with Bethesda games, you're constantly aware that you're just playing a game, whereas Witcher actually managed to conjure up the sense of being in a world. And then when you bashed up against the video game bullshit, you're just like, what? Also, it really bothered me that they only had like they got away with it largely because it's peasants, and you can like because of peasants.
Where's this going?
They all look the same. Like
classist places.
It is. Well, no, it's the fact that basically it meant that because it's like
this is a man who shops at Waitrose and gets a vegetable box delivery.
I mainly go to Waitrose for the free coffee. All right, I'm a scrub. I'm a middle class scrub.
So you've got a Waitrose card.
Yeah, I do, because they give you free coffee.
And peasants.
It's great. They send me an email once a month saying this is how much money you've saved this month, and it's always like 35 quid. I'm like, that's not money I saved. That's money you've given me free coffees. Like, I wouldn't have fucking bought a coffee. Well, I'll have one. Anyway, I'm not saying they're peasants because they're poor. I mean, they're peasants in the traditional sense that they have like face like leather and thick voices and broken teeth.
Yeah.
And it
Video
means that
gun peasants.
yeah, and it means you have the same model being used like all the time.
Yeah.
But because it's just generic kind of, this is somebody very poor and weathered who's been in the field their whole life, you don't notice.
Because you think, I'm Geralt of Rivia. Like,
Yeah.
I'm really fucking important.
Yeah.
And you've just been sort of digging shit up. Like, so
like maybe they got flogged by bandits.
Yeah.
Maybe their wife's dead. It
So
doesn't
get
matter.
in the fucking face.
They literally all look the same because there's only about 5
that's
or 6 different
probably
models.
what poor people look like to actual like
Exactly.
you know,
I mean, that's what I'm saying. You know, it's like that's how Geralt would actually see people. It's like Geralt goggles. It's like
Geralt goggles.
depending
like,
on how important people are.
every time he sees an Adidas hoodie or something, he's just like, same character.
But maybe that explains the big problem I had with the fact that I could get around with the fact that they had this really reuse of haircuts and faces for NPCs. But
the shittest haircuts as well.
what I couldn't get over is the fact that they appeared to only have like one character model for women, which meant it wouldn't matter whether it was like some young buxom beauty or some haggard old leather-faced buxom woman. It was like, it just felt really jarring that like all of the women had the exact same body shape and it was just always a bit porn starry, even when they were like an old woman talking to you. It was like, this is weird. And it really bothers me because it just breaks me out of the game because when I'm doing that, I'm suddenly not in a fantasy world anymore. I'm suddenly some
well, you're in
wank
somebody's
fantasy.
you're in somebody's fantasy world.
Yeah, but maybe that's the Geralt goggles. Maybe he's a perv. Maybe he just sees all women.
Totally a pervert. The Geralt goggles actually make the games make so much more fucking sense.
Maybe I'm going to enjoy The Witcher 3 more now. Like,
Go and
Geralt
play it and
goggles.
just think, right, like keep the Geralt goggles in mind.
Geralt is a
and
classist shit perv.
this isn't the reality of Temeria. This is Geralt goggles Temeria. So this is how Geralt sees the world, and like you know, there's
he's a scum.
there's just fucking holes everywhere.
Subhuman
And,
scum.
Yeah, I mean, you know, just everywhere he looks, there's someone to put his dick and
or his sword.
or kill. You know,
Yeah, one or the other.
and that's how he orders the world.
Traffic lights with him in it.
You know,
terrible.
Sometimes he gets confused, like when it's a succubus. He's like, I don't know whether to shag or kill this. You need to consult the book.
What does it say in the book? Something about oils. What kind of oils?
And the
I still don't know where we're going with
The
this.
book just goes, fill your boots. Oh, what? Right, but
So that's The Witcher 3.
Yeah.
It's
It's still vaguely on my list to play. This is making me slightly more enthused, actually. But like,
it's really good.
it is really good.
well,
It's just
it arrived when I was I think it arrived when I was doing a lot of MOBA stuff and doing a lot of basically
Sure.
everything else that needs hundreds of hours. And then suddenly there was this thing that was like, hi, or you could spend hundreds of hours with me. And I'm kind of like, guys, come on.
Yeah, I've been a lot more this year, especially after last year. I got to the end of it and realised there were so many things I haven't played. I've been I've tried to be a lot better at drawing a line under things I'm just not going to touch or look at. And The
feel
Division
like,
was one of those.
yeah.
I was just like, no. I mean, I'm sure it's good, but no.
I'm very into games that take 8 to 10 hours
Yeah,
right now.
yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you what I've been getting into, actually. I've been getting into rubbish mobile games. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
I don't know why that was funny to me. There we go. Okay,
I'll take it.
I'm over it now. This way.
I've been playing Clash Royale, which is made by the people who made Clash of Clans. But don't panic, there is actually a game behind it rather than just something that keeps you looking every day and getting your friends to do things.
Have they still got the little sort of Rufus Hound fellas in the adverts? Or?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, all right, okay.
Yeah, they are quite Rufus Houndy.
They're a bit Rufusy, yeah.
Well, they've got the same a lot of the same like characters in this.
Yeah.
So yeah, you think you've still got the mini Rufus chaps, but it's a very simple game. It's basically a cross between a very very basic like 2-lane MOBA-y thing of like tower defense, push the towers, and it's head to head. You play it online against other people.
Yeah.
And then it also has a slight kind of card drafting system in it, like deck building, but it's very simple. It's not deck building. It's card drafting, and it's like you have. At any point, you have 4 cards you can play, and you literally just drag them from the bottom of the screen onto either of the lanes, and then they push up the lane, and you need to destroy the other person's towers. But obviously, each of these cards cost different amounts of like juice, mana, whatever, and you have a bar that's constantly going up. So you have this thing of being like, do you just spaff everything out at once and hope this little army is going to take out loads of their stuff, or do you are you more conservative with it and wait for them to attack and counter? But it's nice because you have a total of 8 cards in your deck, and you're always unlocking, like you unlock new ones and you level them up, and that's kind of part of it's a mobile game of you go back and you have things like you win chests from fighting people, and then the chests take like 3 hours to unlock. And then it just means it's fine. It just means your phone vibrates and goes, oh, you've got another, it's unlocked. And then you go, okay. And then you start opening another one. And then when you've opened loads of them and you've got chest slots and you've got nothing to open, you play a few rounds of it, you get some more chests, etc., etc. Yeah. And you can spend money to get more cards. But I haven't really spent any money on it. I spent about £1, I think, because I just thought, I'm enjoying this, I'll give you £1. And it's fun. It's you basically you rank up by winning matches, and then when you get to higher ranks, you get access to better cards from chests, unlocking new characters and stuff. And
that's cool.
It's nice in the fact that you can only choose from 4 cards at a time, and every time you spend a card, it gets replaced with another one. But you have a total of 8, but you choose those 8 you want. So it means you have the strategy of choosing 8 cards that kind of work, but it still has enough of that kind of deck building thing of choosing a versatile selection of things, of not just going for like, this is really good at attacking, but choosing like simple tools of being like, okay, like I always have a very basic attack, which is just arrows. And it's just like, I always keep that because it's a big spread of arrows. They don't do much damage, but every now and then you come up against players who have like skeleton armies where suddenly you've just got like 100 tiny skeletons. And if you've got an arrow nearby, you can just end that immediately. So it has this nice kind of thing of a nice pace of trying to choose where to put things in the lane in terms of how long it'll take them to pull up. So you've got the timing of different troops, and you've got the fact that that you start to learn counters, and you start to feel like there's like one guy called the Prince, I think, who's just a fucker with a lance on a horse. And he's a dick. Because like the first time I started facing people who are using him, because it's like, unless you're spending loads of money on it.
It just immediately put me in mind of fucking like Harry hanging out of a chopper shooting people. You know. Sorry.
But it's this thing of like, you know, because everyone has different cards, like you get like the epics that are like kind of really good units. And I think it gives most people like 1 or 2 of them in your little tutorial stages, but everyone gets different ones. And so you end up building a strategy around what you've got so far, or what's leveled up at the moment. And it mixes it up because different things get leveled up in the cards you get in boxes. You go, oh, well, this is really good now. I might try and build a little army around this.
Do you get a budget for like what you can spend your hand on, like for like the 8 spaces, or is it just any 8 cards?
It's any 8 cards, and that's the interesting thing, is it tells you like the average kind of cost of them, because there's different kind of strategies. You can just go for like lots of really low cost things, and then it means you're constantly just dropping stuff. Or you can go for like lots more high cost cards, but then obviously it's a bit more risk reward. But then it's nice in the fact that the games only last for 3 minutes, and in the last 60 seconds you get double elixir, double like mana. Okay. And so it basically means that if you have gone for like lots of high value things, then you kind of like, if you can hold out, then you can then just go, and just drop like horrible things on them, and they won't be able to kind of deal with it. But it's nice. It's just every time like I've been introduced to a new type of thing, I've just had this period of going, oh my God, like what is this? And this prince, he charges you with a javelin and then just destroys everything. And I was like, it wasn't until I actually like looked into it that it was like, okay, like after about a second and a half, he starts charging, and then if he hits anything when he's charging, he does double damage. And so it's this weird thing of like, you just have to like constantly keep putting things just in front of him so he can't get up speed. And there's enough little kind of nuance in terms of how things work, and that it feels, when you get beaten, it's not that unsatisfying, because often what will happen is you'll get beaten by somebody who either has a sort of deck that you think, like I was too cocky there and I didn't see what they had and they've screwed me with that. Or you think, you've realised you've swapped something greedily out of your hand that you needed, something that was kind of a bit of a utility. You thought you put something fun in there, and then you're like, no, I should have kept like those crap skeletons because I need them for this. But then also, if you get beaten, sometimes it's just because you can see the little numbers above the troops, and it's that they've got higher level troops than you, and all of their troops are really high level, and you're just like, you're a bastard who's been spending loads of money on it.
I was going to ask about the matchmaking actually, but I'm assuming that if it's only 3 minutes, then it's sort of, it's maybe less of a problem if you come up with against somebody who has just dropped a ton of change onto it. Or?
I'm not sure like if this is a good idea or not, but the way it works is that when you win, you get more trophies, and the trophies define what bracket you're in.
Right.
And that means you get better rewards, etc. But it generally means that if people do blow loads of money, it means that what will happen then is they will just keep winning.
Yeah.
And then they will just get knocked into the higher ranks, and then you won't see them until you're at that level.
Okay.
So really, it's not been a problem. But also, it does mean you get that satisfying thing sometimes where you think, bloody hell, this guy's got high level things, but then you can still beat them.
Yeah.
Like, it isn't the fact of like, because you can outplay stuff, and there's actually like a lot, especially when there's a big battle going on, there's lots of things fighting.
Yeah.
Choosing what you drop into the battle to counter, but also where you put it, because it's like all of the units have actual aggro as well. So it means you can be like, put something in a position where like these enemies will attack it, but not these. And that will like make a massive difference in terms of how the battle pans out.
Yeah.
So it's really satisfying sometimes when you kind of be quite calculated about when you drop things and where you put them and the timing of it. And when it all goes right and you just destroy someone, it is great. Especially because it takes 3 minutes. Because you can just be sitting on the loo, start a game, ruin somebody, put it back in your pocket, and then just get on with your day with a big grin on your face, being like, I just destroyed that person whilst having a comfortable sit-down wee. My day's going brilliantly. Yeah. And that's my review. We've done 2 reviews on the podcast today. It's great.
It's been,
Shit. What have we reviewed, sorry?
Witcher 3.
Yeah.
And Clash Royale.
Yeah. And a little bit of the Overwatch.
A little, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, fuck it.
We're overachieving.
This is the most productive my week has been so far. So.
I should also mention I played Crashlands, which I heard was good from... It was Kate Gray. I remember now. Yeah. Kate Gray told me, she's on the podcast, she's been on here, I think, at least once, and she told me that Crashlands was good. I watched the trailer for Crashlands and I fucking hated it. It was like really loud in your face. It was like...
You're like, damn you, Kate Gray.
It was before she said this, actually. It was before. Because I was looking into it because I knew it was kind of big. And I was like, oh, lots of people playing this. I'll look at it. And the trailer was like the Behemoth done wrong. It was just lots of shouting and lots of like, as if it was like whimsical shouting. And I was like, no, the Behemoth nailed that. But it's quite a specific thing they do. And they just hadn't got it. And I just thought that it looked really, really obnoxious and bad. Actually, as it turns out, the game could not be any more different. The writing is actually okay. It was just, but there isn't any audio. It's all just text, and it's kind of a little like kind of slightly Don't Starve-y, Terraria thing, top down. You're a little purple dude, and you just go around killing monsters, chopping down trees, and making things. But it's really chill. It's like so chill. It has this wonderful soundtrack that's just really like relaxed kind of electronic music, really, really nice slow pace. And the combat is really nice in the fact that it's designed, it is on PC and stuff, but it's designed for phone or iPad or Android pad or whatever, in the fact that it has this nice thing of like you just tap to move but then tap to attack, and it has this nice rhythm with the combat where what you end up having to do is tap the enemy to attack, and then you move forward to attack them, and then quickly start tapping away because you can see where the enemy's attack is coming. So you're almost like kind of kiting around, and like you just get into this weird rhythm of like tapping around to like avoid attacks, and you're never actually like immediately tapping anyway. You just tap somewhere and it sets the trajectory of where he's walking to, and so you start walking in that direction. But then like a split second later, you'll go, well, actually no, you need to change to this direction. So it means you're just constantly correcting the way you're walking by tapping around, but it's the weird thing of it's really great combat, and actually it did quite badly. It didn't do badly, but it got a lot of stick on PC, this game, because people got annoyed they couldn't use a gamepad or something, or like they were annoyed there weren't more control options. But having played the game, it's like, well, no, this is the control system. It's like it's made around this. Yeah. And it's a really nice,
PC
simple
people
system.
Are fucking mental,
yeah, they are. Yeah, it's true. But it's weird how like you kind of think to not get that, to be playing it and not get that.
I mean, like when fucking Evil Within, people started modding it and taking like the color filters off and taking the 235:1 black.
Yeah, the black bars. Black bars because
yeah, which of course they're not black bars, but anyway, when people started like. So I remember, I'm sure I listened to some podcast or something where somebody was like, yeah, it's really great. You take that shitty color filter off and blah, 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 and it runs. And I'm like, yeah, but somebody made the game like that for a reason. Like, there's like, I mean, I've never fucking played it, but I assume there's some kind of theme that's meant to suggest, or there's a creative decision there that you're just fucking with because
the BT scene often tends to take quite a crass approach to optimization in terms of making things better. I mean, that's not always true by any means.
Yeah,
I mean, I remember especially back in the day with like HD mods for games. Often it would be like, yeah, you've got HD textures, but like who the fuck made these textures? Like, some of them were just horrible, but it was like, there was this sort of strange mentality. It was better to have a better resolution.
See, I'm a bad PC gamer because I only really sort of dabble in mods every now and again. Like,
that's fine, me too.
I seem to spend most of my time trying to figure out why something isn't working whenever I get involved with mods. So it's very much like, do you know what? I'm going to save myself an evening of not playing games and just play something that, I have and I know.
I used to have the patience for that more when I was younger, but now it's part of my job that something doesn't work and I have to work out, like, it's like I spend enough time like trying to work out why Premiere's crashing when I try and drag this MP3 into the thing.
Premiere's crashing because Adobe made it. That's it.
There's some weird bugs in the new one, right? If you export an MP3 into the project, if you click the little box, then if you try and use that MP3 in the project, it just won't work at all. And that it's consistent. And I don't know. It's just weird. Anyway, drives me mental.
Have you tried exporting any 60 FPS stuff recently?
No.
Since the last update?
Using Coda sometimes.
Sorry to derail this.
Sometimes Encoder works. Sometimes Encoder helps you out, but no.
I think it just from within Premiere.
We're literally just doing a video editing podcast now. We should stop.
Yeah. This is bad. Sorry, but but anyway, it now takes like fucking 10 times longer than it would have done on the same machine in the last version, and only affects 60 FPS videos. 60 FPS. It's like 60 FPS, and. You better go and have a coffee. I mostly
don't bother, but
I honestly can't see FPS stuff either. Like, this is another, like, probably shouldn't confess this, what with working at a PC gaming website, but I just I just don't see it. I don't see the difference a lot of the time.
I can see the difference, but the thing I find is that I don't actually...
Or if I do notice, it doesn't bother me.
Yeah, that's the thing, is I can see the difference. And sometimes when I'm playing something, I'm like, this is nice. Yeah. But it's that thing of like, it always reminds me of when I used to go from playing on my PC to playing on the N64 when I was a kid. As soon as I sat down in front of the N64, I was always like, oh my God, the graphics are terrible. But then after like 2 minutes, you just forget. And it's like, I'm always going from like high-end PC to stuff like the 3DS or something. It's like, sometimes you immediately go, oh God, the screen on this is like rubbish. But then you just forget, and it doesn't really matter that much. I don't know.
It's the engagement, though, isn't it? It's it's not like people don't know this, but there's this weird kind of. I mean, we all play games on PC, right? So it's not this isn't a PC gamer thing. Like I fucking love PC gaming, always have. But there's this weird kind of really vocal strain of people now who just. They've got such a numbers obsessed approach to everything, like these are the people sort of always demanding high frame rate movies and so. Like high frame rate movies look dog shit.
They look weird, don't they?
They tried it. Like, it didn't work. Nothing after The Hobbit is going to be shot in high. Because there's no fucking point. Because people look at it and go, this looks weird.
It looks cheap. That's the strange thing.
Because it makes a fucking...
TV.
Yeah, it can make a fucking $200 million production look like it was shot in fucking high 8. So nobody's going to do it. But there's a lot of people out there are just obsessed with the fact that... Obsessed with the idea that the reason that it looks cheap is just because you're wrong. Everyone's wrong. Everyone looking at it is wrong, and they need to change to suit the high. And then you're thinking, but then why are you spending all that time and money trying to sort of educate people about high frame rate? Which the resources of which required to produce stuff in high frame rate are ridiculous as well. If you think about just, like just doubling the amount of frames in a movie
in film, it's
logistically, fuck me. It adds horrendous resources. It takes up a horrendous amount of resources.
Well, yeah, with CGI, it's literally twice as much money.
Yeah. Yeah,
because most of the money in CGI is render time.
Yeah,
and computers running it
exactly. And it's a fucking and you think, well, why would people go to that kind of trouble? When right now everyone just looks at it. Apart from these fannies, everyone just looks at it and goes, ugh.
It's a weird obsession.
I'll watch the shit version. Thanks, it looks a lot better. But
I think often it just feels like there's an abstract number that is then attached to being good, and I don't understand why. I think that's more where I'm at with it. That I kind of look at these things, and it's kind of like that's a criterion for success that I can't even understand as a thing to hit for success if it isn't breaking the game, or if it isn't, like an active, I was going to say an active annoyance, but obviously it is to these people, but I just don't see it as and it sort of seems to also be sort of holding games to this thing of standardization, where it's kind of like every game needs to hit these benchmarks just to sort of be okay, and you're like,
otherwise they're bad and wrong and the devs haven't done their job properly.
But I've never really heard a convincing explanation as to why any of this stuff, if it isn't breaking the game.
The only explanation I've heard is that it's like in fast-paced games, it's like you just have more information and more. But I don't. Maybe it's just I don't play games at that pace anymore.
Even then though, shooters work at 30. They work better at 60, but they still fucking work.
Everything's fine, yeah. Let's say stuff like 3DS, like it runs at 30. Yeah, it's 30 and it's fine.
Maybe that's why I'm not a pro gamer, but
but it's like I'm never going to be a pro gamer. I don't know, but I think it's somehow there is a tendency.
I'm 31, man. It's like fucking hell. I'm going to get arthritis soon. Maybe that is the difference sometimes with the console. Everyone buys the same console and everyone wants to get the best out of their console. It's not like people don't give a fuck. It's like, I've got a PS4. If I'm playing a PS4 game, I want it to look cool. I want it to look gorgeous. But when you get given what you get given, you accept that is it. That's the thing. When you know that the next guy has the same hardware and the game looks the same for them, it's not an issue. But when you got a community of people, the first thing they do when they get a new game is get the fucking console open and turn on a frame counter. They're not playing a game then. They're playing fucking, they're playing tweak the fucking setting.
It's dick waving at the end of the day.
And it's just like, you're not engaged in these games. All you care about is how, it's the boy racer approach to, it's the same with, that section of motoring.
It's the tinkering, isn't it? If I just do this thing, I'll get like a tiny bit more performance. And part of me is like, that's fascinating. And you care so much about this thing that I just cannot even wrap my head around. And then it's like, but it spills out in these other ways that
this is the thing, and this is
I bet you they couldn't fucking coherently tell you like what they think about their experience of playing Mass Effect or something, or how they
know.
I think it just seems like it's a very, very narrow fucking lens to look at things.
I think the problem is as I was saying with this game Crashlands, and people complaining about on Steam reviews and stuff, people complaining about not being able to use different control schemes and stuff. I think it's more like it's realizing it's not just visual. It's something to do with like that people have they've spent money and time making their rig, and then they want to use it to the maximize of their capability, and that includes stuff like wanting to use whatever, and it's like this weird thing of if a game doesn't let them use their system to what they deem to be its best capacity, then they get annoyed, whether that's graphics or controls. But graphics, it always just boggles me, because I just think, why do you care about this? It just seems like an extremely boring thing to care about. And unfortunately, when you say this, people do get offended, and they do go, "Oh, you think I'm boring?" It's like, well, yeah, I do. That's fine.
Yeah, you are.
Because then, people think I'm boring when I fucking won't stop talking about cooking cabbage. It's fine, different people, but I cannot fucking understand why it's just of such an interest. But especially with Crashlands, it's just this weird thing of being like, if you cannot see that this is not meant to be played in any other way, then I don't know what's
do you think maybe it shouldn't have been ported in that case?
No, because I think it worked perfectly well with clicking as well.
Okay.
It's just the way that you just, it's like, it's a
I
weird...
thought maybe you were saying that it only really, really works on a touch screen. So...
No, I think it would work just as well with clicking. It's just that it means it's a bit like imagine a version of Dota but in treacle. Of it being like, because you know how it's like you're just kind of constantly clicking around to change the movement of the character slightly, because you're constantly having to calculate. It's like that, but much slower and with a kind of rhythm. And the enemy designs are all nice enough that they move in what at first, when you meet them, is quite an erratic seeming way. You start to learn how they move, and then it means you're just sitting back with this chill music, just casually tapping away and sometimes taking risks and taking on enemies that might kill you, but... and it has that nice thing when you do get hit by enemies, they hit you like a truck, and it's quite like unforgiving. But
smashing.
But you can keep dodging it. You can always keep dodging it. I'd really actually, considering I really ragged on the trailer so much when I first saw it, I thought it was just awful. It's a really, if you want to play something, it's one of those weird things where often with these little crafty games, I get obsessed with trying to collect stuff. Whereas in this, I find myself just chilling out, and I find myself just wandering around, realising I've just been collecting trees. I don't even need trees.
Having a poo,
for
example.
I'm just enjoying.
Or sitting in the garden.
Yeah, it's like sitting in the garden. Let's go with it's like sitting in the garden.
Yeah, having a poo in the garden.
Stop doing that. I have neighbours. It's a shared premises. Jesus, Jim.
I've not shot outside for years. Actually, now I think about it.
Not tonight, all right? Not in my backyard.
Not in sophisticated fucking balance.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but it sounds cool actually. But that whole PC thing is mad.
Maybe it's what I encounter when I start going down the Skyrim modding black hole, where you suddenly start seeing the world as if everything should be moddable, and there were a few things that I never got right. Like I think I was telling you on a previous podcast, like I never got the wind in the trees right, and it's such a stupid thing to be bothered by, but like the trees never moved quite right, and so I drove myself nuts trying to find a mod that would actually sort of help with that, and in the end I just had to walk away from the game because I couldn't walk through an environment without seeing all of the things that I kind of wanted to tweak. And then, so maybe that's what it gets like. If you're super into modding, you're kind of like, right, that's a thing I can fix. That's a thing I can optimize. That's what I can make better.
That's dangerous. That like if that starts bleeding into your everyday life, especially with
how you end up with sheds, Jim.
Pretty much, and also like especially with like Elder Scrolls mods, you're gonna walk around just wondering why you can't see people's penises because
absolutely. What's
honestly
wrong?
the furry community.
What do you mean I can't?
Like Elder Scrolls modding and the furry community, the Venn diagram there is fascinating. Like,
I'm sure
those people fucking love. They haven't got any interest in Skyrim, and frankly, the wonderful Tamrielic lore.
I don't appreciate the lore.
Is that the first time Tamrielic has been said out loud? I don't know.
Oh God!
But
that's amazing. That's like a video game equivalent of like some 50-year-old man getting angry about immigrants. Yeah. Oh, what are they doing in Tamriel? They don't appreciate the lore. They're just
modding in fucking cat onesies and shagging people. It's ridiculous. This is what they do. I mean, this is a thing.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, why not? I mean, it's not canon, but
I feel like this is a whole new world. Like this is like when I found out the bronies might be a sex thing. Like
it so is. It's horrible.
But it's funny because I think
it's just people who like My Little Pony.
I think they exist as well. Pip, don't let you. It's not all about. It's not. That's not. Don't worry. Don't kill all of your innocence.
It was hard because I really like My Little Pony Friendship is Magic because I have 3 daughters.
Yeah.
And I watch it with.
That's who it's made for, isn't it?
I've got an excuse.
I like Ben and Holly as well. I think that's pretty good.
Ben and Holly, don't think I've seen that.
It's got like a little ladybird instead of a dog, like because they're a fairy and an elf who like are friends and go around in the forest. And then there's like Gaston, who's the ladybird, who's kind of like a badly behaved puppy, basically.
I don't know.
We've covered some substantial scope of topics.
I know, right? We really have, haven't we?
Just to swing back briefly to the...
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's fine.
We were going to go off on
it's
one.
absolutely fine.
I need to check out this Ben and Holly business.
I'll send you some gifts.
But yeah, I just think it's fascinating how like there is always this tendency for a lot of people who really love PC to think that like console gamers are kind of like a bit stupid
and thick
because they put up with the idea that they put up with not being able to change things. They put up with like what they're given. But I think it's interesting where like when you actually put it the other way around and go, all right, yeah, but consoles gamers just quietly put up with what they're given, and that might make them like less interesting. But if you then have the capability to change everything, but you don't know when what you've been given originally is good or not, what does that matter? Like, it's that weird thing of like, it's like Burger King, like, have it your way. What do you want in your burger? Like, yes, you can ask for exactly whatever you want, but if your burger is just 18 pieces of tomato in a bun, it's not a good burger.
Do you think they'd do me a chip butty?
I think they probably would, It's the thing. I don't know if they still do that anymore.
How does the pricing system work with all of this? Have it your way.
I don't know if they do it in the UK anymore, because for years they kept saying, have it your way. And then because we're British, literally nobody did. You just go, I'll have that burger. And nobody ever went, can I have that burger without the onion? Because it's just like, why would you do that?
Because it means that you get it cooked fresh.
I know you should, but it's just such an anti-British thing to do. To like ask for something that's in any way trouble.
To stand there fucking fuming because it's taking 20 minutes to get served, and then
I think most people had to
you just convince yourself it's fine. No, it's fine. I'm not even gonna.
I think a lot of people had to go
any enjoyment, disenjoyment, or
a lot of people had to go to the Open University just to learn how to order in Starbucks. I think in terms of like just there's different milks you can have. You can have different types of frothy sweet shit. We should we should do. It's great if you're desperate for caffeine and there is literally nowhere else for miles.
I was just going to mention. Sorry, just feeding off from the whole PC gamer thing. I made the mistake of talking about playing Rise of the Tomb Raider on the PC version because I don't have an Xbox One.
Yeah.
That pisses people off. How can you be a game? Oh, fuck off. If you don't own every single piece of hardware. All right, okay.
This is the first generation I haven't actually, but it's
Engage. Have you got an Engage?
There is one in the office. There is one in the office. It's got I think we've got like that weird Elder Scrolls game that came out on it, funnily enough, and the Sonic game. But yeah, I remember saying on our podcast that we were I was playing Rise of the Tomb Raider, and it's quite a new game. My PC's a couple of years old and it was mid-range at the time, so it's like I mentioned really, really fucking casually, I was like, I had to bump it down to 900p to get it to 60, but after that it was great. And there was one guy in the comments on that podcast who was like talking like he was going to call the fucking Salvation Army. He was just like, no PC game should be running under 1080p. And I'm like, that is not a rule. That's not a rule. That's just you. That's just you talking shit. And I'm like, it's fine. If I want a new graphics card, I'll fucking buy one because I'm an adult. Like, he's like, if you need help, I can help you spec your PC. I'm like, no, I don't need help. I just have like other shit to worry. What the fuck what world have I entered? And I was like, never talking about PC games ever again. If I play anything on PC, I'm not going to mention the platform. Like, people just assume that he's a console guy. He's obviously thick. I'm patently not fucking thick, or I like to think I'm not. But yeah, weird culture, very strange culture. But yeah, like 900p, like if you're running a PC game at 900p, they think that's an affront.
I think I've lost all those people. I used to have
it's like a religious affront. It's like that's you've committed something bad here. Like,
I used to have a lot of those people following me, but then I pissed them off and they've all gone.
Yeah. I hate having to deal with the technical side of PC stuff. Like, I was having this thing where I was trying out the Paragon beta and like it started running so slowly and I was like, oh god, I'm gonna have to figure out why, so I know whether it's my PC or I know whether it's the game, or oh god. But then my internet connection died for 5 hours, so it's fine.
It's fine.
I don't need to figure this out yet.
But it is horrible when you're sitting there like, I need to find out who's fucked it and who's fucked what.
Yeah.
But yeah. It's usually I fucked it, so
something is wrong. Something has gone horribly wrong.
It's probably Jim.
Yeah, just tell people that. It's like, it's Jim. He owned up to it. You can ask him.
Next week, hopefully, I will have some impressions on Dark Souls 3.
Ooh.
Because I have it.
How many pantomimes did you go to as a child?
I go
Sorry,
still.
the pair of
I
us.
still go. Do you?
That wasn't pantomime.
Do you use your kids as an excuse, but secretly
I think I have done.
it?
Yeah.
That wasn't pantomime. That was a bloody generation game. That was like a cuddly toy.
Sorry, man. I'm very aware of interrupting you.
So
now.
I check London and Kent and Bath to see which one has the better like celebrity cameo for the pantomime each year. Just so I can
what is it usually?
Which one to go to? Well, Kent tends to have quite a lot of old EastEnders people, which is really good. Like Barry off EastEnders, he's kind of local, so he was in there a whole.
He's good value.
So I would have thought Kent would have like David Van Day quite a lot, but he's often up in like Arbroath and places like that.
And there's people like anyway, sorry.
It's fine. Honestly, I am actually just stunned with the. I enjoy it, but I just think the number of topics we've covered today has been, and the breadth has been incredible.
I do apologise. I'm so sorry.
It's fine. It's raucous, but I'm liking it. But yeah, I was going to say I've got Dark Souls 3. But the problem is I haven't started playing it yet, and it's like this weird thing of I'm just in the process of trying to finish off my Bloodborne Diaries thing. I'm doing a little DLC addendum. I don't know if it's going to be a mini series or a 1-part, 2-part, one-off. But it's this weird thing of like, I'm about a bit into the way of the Bloodborne DLC. I don't know how long it is, but I know that if I start playing Dark Souls 3 before I do that, it's like you can't have your pudding before you've done your main, you know? Because if you're starting your pudding, you're not going to go back to your sausages. So it's one of these annoying things where I really want to play it and see what it's like, but I know that if I don't do it, then Bloodborne will just get completely like, I'm done with that now, I can't be bothered.
Yeah. And plus, it's obviously tapping into some weird childhood, like tea having trauma.
Never leave a dirty plate, you know, strict grandma. But yeah, it's fine. So next week, hopefully, unless Bloodborne proves to be a real prick, I'll be able to polish that off and then have a little look.
Nah, just sack off Bloodborne. Fuck Bloodborne, man.
I'm halfway through recording a series, a video. You can't.
Bloodborne is fucking Dark Souls with hats.
You just say the end.
Fuck off.
You just end a video with the end, and then you move on. You know, that's how this goes.
You're a genius.
Welcome to my editorial process.
You're gonna be the next Steven Spielberg. Well, the technique
tell people you ended it, and then insist it was only ever going to be 6 parts.
Honestly, if you put that about 2/3 of the way through the film AI, you could have made it like vastly better. This the end technique. No, I have actually been tempted to just midway through it, just have a cut to a shot of me on the sofa going, yeah, sorry, I just couldn't be bothered anymore. I'm done. That's it. I don't know how people react to that.
And then go, look, it's just Dark Souls with hats. Like
it's just Bloodborne's amazing. It's just I've kind of like I've been away from it for too long. The world and the lore and the story is fucking brilliant, but I got so into it, it got in my head like big time.
I gave my copy to Alice because I never even opened it because I spent about an hour trying to make a lady character who looked like a snowman. And then, because like you can make them super pale and then like make the nose really long and kind of red and then the lips kind of blue. And then I spent so long doing that I'd lost any remaining enthusiasm for the game, and I don't even like Dark Souls anyway.
It's hard.
So
I mean, it's
you know
like
what, mate?
It's pretty. But I mean, the thing is, I say it's like it's very different to Dark Souls, but that's like an aficionado. That's like somebody saying this red wine is obviously vastly different to this red wine. Where I'll just be like, no, it's just booze. It's just red booze.
Having realised that I didn't really like it and didn't really want to play it, I still bought that copy because it was just like, I probably should, and I wanted to fit in with my friends.
Oh.
And then it was just like, oh mate, no.
It is amazing, Bloodborne. Actually, it's genuinely amazing. If you're intrigued in it, watch a bit of. I did Bloodborne Diaries. So I did a little video which was like condensed a 50-hour playthrough into about 2.5 hours of video in little 10-minute chunks. It's a lot of fun. I went a bit nuts with it, but I'm hopefully going to finish it off with a bit of DLC stuff, which you'll be able to see on Cool Ghosts soonish. I mean, I've recorded it. I just don't know when I'm going to assemble it and how long that's going to take. But then after that, Dark Souls 3.
Have you done the door bit with the wolves in the door bit where the wolves kind of you go into the door and then you can just hit them because they can't get in the door, and that's Bloodborne. That's the whole game.
It's cheap, mate. Cheap.
Yeah.
But we just run away.
That's all of it. Oh,
you play bloody Bethesda games. You can't
some
talk
shite
about
fucking Gascoigne, and it's not even fucking Paul Gascoigne. It's just some fucking tosser.
I did refer to him as Paul Gascoigne in my video in the series quite consistently.
Obviously. Turning up with chicken and that.
Yeah, precisely.
Fucking hell. Which I assume is what he sounds like when he turns up with chicken.
He does.
To try and catch a murderer. Come on, lads. Got some fucking chicken leg.
That's uncanny.
You should do that voice every time you fight Paul Gascoigne.
I'm way past Gascoigne, mate. I'm onto the bigger things. But yeah, we'll do one question.
The wolves in the door, and that could be a Stuart Lee bit, couldn't it? Like 20 minutes of him going,
the wolves.
Have you done the bit with the wolves in the door, Stu? The wolves in the door, and they can't get past the door frame, and you just stand just far away from them that you can hit them, but they can't hit you.
I'm glad that Stuart Lee doesn't play video games. It'd be really annoying. I found him a bit much in episode 3 of his latest comedy vehicle, when he was just doing a cat farting for 5 minutes. I thought, this is pushing it, mate. I mean, my bath's going cold. I was getting bored.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. Anyway, we'll answer one question. One question. It's fine. Everything's fine.
I do apologise. I've not been well. So I'm a bit manic and sort of.
It's fine.
Out of the house.
They've let you out of hospital.
No,
You'll put yourself back in with excitement.
Yeah.
This is a great question from Nevada Drew, which is a good name as well. I wonder if it's a real name. Lots of enemies and characters drop items when they die. What will you drop when you die? The facade.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah. Can't think of a better one than that. I think that's perfect.
Yeah. That was annoyingly good.
Sorry. Any objects that you carry around with you constantly enough that you might drop?
If I just go whatever I'm holding that day, I don't know.
I have a habit of finding food in my handbag that I don't remember putting there.
Mm-hmm.
So
What sort of food?
yesterday I found a 4-pack of hot cross buns. Just took me completely by surprise. I was just like, my bag's quite heavy. I should probably
Question: had they been in there for too long for them to be usable?
No.
Excellent.
They'd been in there since Monday.
Had they been toasted by the process?
No,
That's a
but
shame.
they were slightly
How often do you
crushed.
How often do you buy hot cross buns? Is this
It's Easter.
It was Easter.
Oh right. Oh yeah. I don't associate hot
I
cross
brought
buns
some
with Easter.
Yeah,
to
they're
my
everywhere.
sisters, and it was like a 2-for-1 kind of deal. So I thought I'll keep a pack for myself.
Right.
And then I just completely forgot that I'd been so generous towards myself, and then found that. But then again, like, I do have sort of form for this, and it's just a really bad habit of. I think I'm used to. Well, I pass it off now as being used to going to press events where they don't necessarily feed you, or going to esports tournaments where the food is like arena food that's horrible, like in terms of being like bad for you. Like, oh, do you want to subsist on nachos for a week? Which is what the international kind of ended up being.
Yeah, well, when you go to E3 and you just fucking, you're in LA for 12 hours and
do
you're
you
like
want
4
a
times the
burrito
size.
that has chips in? And you're just like,
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what, like, because I used to be like obsessed with very strong coffee and Twixes back when I was a video gamer, which was the
like
source
a
of my.
straw. You
No,
bite both
just-
ends off and then just suck the coffee through.
You can do that, but no, I was just eating
nice.
lots and lots of Twixes, but which was the source of my endless energy, but also why I was just constantly in the worst moods.
Yeah.
Also why you only have one kidney now or something. Like
Yeah, like also why I just burnt out, because it turns out you can't just run on sugar and. I was at one point
cannot
actually.
run on Twix
Yeah.
coffee alone.
When I was trying to write script for the Brooker Games thing I did, I was drinking 4 espressos a day and eating 6 Magnums.
That's
Fuck me.
That's
Like I was just
no.
because I was working like 21-hour days because I was trying to work like the job and then writing scripts in the evenings.
shit.
So I was just like I was literally just running on sugar and caffeine for about 3 weeks. It's no wonder I burnt out.
I mean, I'm
Don't
a fat
do
gluttonous bastard, and that really rang some alarm bells. In me. I was like, 6 Magnums. Fuck. I mean, you usually stop at 3. You know.
Yeah, once
3
I
is
pulled
enough.
an all-nighter and had like a the Tangfastics things that Haribo do,
Yeah.
and like it gets to the point where they're actually like eroding your cheek because they're so like sour and like painful, and you're just like, my face hurts and I'm in a bad place and it's 4 a.m. and this thing won't upload, and why the fuck?
Mind you,
would
going
it
back to that, an
upload?
eroded Tangfastic is like the sort of thing I can imagine being like a Dark Souls item.
Yeah,
like, it wouldn't be
that's
called that,
true.
but it would look like that. You'd be like, is that an eroded Tangfastic I just picked up? I bet it opens up a door or lets me join a covenant with some chickens.
Oh, Stu, did you pick up the dog poo, Stu? Did you pick up the little turd?
Lets you be in the dog poo covenant.
It's just in the game as a joke.
I still cannot get over the fact that there was a bit right at the start of Dark Souls 2 which, using very opaque, flowery language, basically asked you, didn't ask you, but said, basically what happened was it said, oh, do you want to do this? And you went, yeah. And it just made the game harder. Just made the game like much harder. And it didn't tell you that. And then loads of people just found themselves going, this game's a bit fucking hard, isn't it? Until somebody said, did you go to this statue at the start and agree? And I was like, yeah. And it's like, oh, you just made the game twice hard. You fucking bastards. Mind you, the other day, I did remember, for anyone who's played the original Dark Souls, neither of you, no?
No.
Weirdly,
Not far.
I played it for about 20 minutes.
No,
I think
enough.
I
Put it in
got to the
fucking bin.
gargoyles. I got just past the gargoyles and
That's
rang
pretty
the
good.
first bell.
That's very good.
Yeah.
That's like a lot further than most people ever make it. It's a nice one.
I was on the
That's the point usually that people get stuck on. They get stuck on the gargoyles.
I was on Skype with my friends Craig and Craig, and they were watching me Twitch stream it, so they were on like a 3-second delay. So they couldn't like advise too badly, like they couldn't backseat drive too much because I was always a few seconds behind. But they refused to tell me about the Capra demon.
Right.
So they were just like, oh, just go through this doorway and you'll be fine. And I'm like, I don't think I will be.
That's clearly not true.
And then followed a lot of screaming.
I think that's because the Capra Demon is such an unfair prick of a boss that I think because everyone has such a horrible time with that part of the game, it's like almost you want everyone else to have a horrible time as well, because otherwise it doesn't validate the many hours you spend just going, fuck, because that's a rubbish encounter. and there's a way to beat it that is like just works, but it's very like, it doesn't feel like a good way. It doesn't feel like you've mastered it. And that's what I like about Bloodborne. The boss fights, it feels like you win because you've gotten good at fighting, which is cool. But yeah, there's a bit in Dark Souls in the first one where you go down into this big, black, dark, endless abyss.
Right.
And you face the four kings who come out of the nothing from the distance. And there's suddenly these pinpricks in the blackness, and then they're very close, and it's just abstract and terrifying. But weirdly, I was going to bed the other night, and just as I laid my head down on the pillow, I had this really, really strong flashback of exactly how it felt that first time in Dark Souls, of just this image in my head of going down into the abyss and then being like just surrounded by this blackness and not knowing what was going to happen. And I had that just as I was trying to go to sleep. I tell you what, it was really intense. So next time, try it yourself. Next time you're about to go to sleep, just try and conjure up that abyss. Mm-hmm. Thanks for listening to the Daft Souls podcast. It's been a pleasure having you two on.
Yay!
Pip, have you done anything in particular you'd like to share with people? Or people to read? I can put a little thing in the description.
I guess I've been linking to a lot of news. I've had to do a lot of news this week, but it's always gone massively off topic and has involved like Big Brother novelty singles and God knows what. So, maybe people would like that, but I don't know. I should never have been allowed to do news. Anyway, bye. Fine.
I think it sounds great, personally, but it's much more interesting than video game news, which I don't read. Because it's just...
Video game news is just dog shit.
It's boring.
It's like, developer confirms game runs at 1080p. It's like... Right.
Yeah.
Cheers for that.
And I talked about this actually. Oh, I forgot to mention this actually last week. I mentioned I mentioned last week when I spoke about GDC about being on Danny Dwyer's podcast. And there was somebody linked to that in the podcast. You can watch that. But I should say that the guys I was on it with, two chaps from a podcast called Spawn on Me, which is, I got to say, too long for my liking. It's about 3 hours, 2 hours long. Some of the episodes 2.5, which is, if you're an American in the car commuting, obviously fantastic. But for me personally, I can't do things more than an hour. And I'm already breaking my own rule of an hour with this podcast, which annoys me personally. But hey, what you going to do?
This is entirely my fault.
It's fine. No, it's usually my fault. I do it all the time. It's fine. But if you don't mind that,
I kind of dragged you along with it as well, and we were both
never had
just
a podcast with me on it where it hasn't gone massively off topic.
All right.
It's what I like about
entirely Pip's fault.
One time it was me and Pip. We just ended up talking about Midsummer Murders for about 10 minutes. It was like having a vicarage tea catch-up. It was fantastic. Check out if you like that sort of thing. They got lots of really interesting guests. They have lots of really interesting conversations, and they're really smart dudes. It was a pleasure to meet them. So that's Spawn on Me. I'd recommend. If you're not averse to longer podcasts, check it out. But you got anything you've done recently that you'd like to have people to look at? It's not really pimping stuff. It's more just being like, what are you personally proud of you'd like people to look at?
Like primary school. What have you done this year?
Show and
give you a gold star.
Actually, genuinely quite proud of mainly the last episode of Fallout 4 Geordie Apocalypse, which is a sort of kind of machinima comedy thing I made out of sort of reimagining Fallout 4 if it was set in bombed out northeast of England.
No, it's not.
So
it's Geordie's Liverpool. Jesus. Newcastle.
Jesus, Matt.
It's been a long time since I lived in the north of England, but not that fucking long.
Yeah. So what
episode number is that? So I can link to it.
It'd be episode 6. So it's the last episode, and and I kind of set out right. I really want to make this fucking a decent kind of. I felt like it had to end nicely and things had to happen, and because it's such a stupid fucking thing where I've dubbed things over and whatever, and every character on the screen has my mouth, right? But I wanted to make it feel like you were actually watching the end of something. And like, I spent a lot of time on it, and but I got to the end of it, and just that one episode is probably one of the best things I've ever fucking done in my entire career. So yeah, really, really
Can I just watch that one?
Yeah. There's a summary right at the start. Rest of it's shit. But no, I really enjoyed making that series, and it was quite it was just carte blanche. It was just like everything, because I nick everything from Vic and Bob, right? Basically,
it's a fantastic source of genuine,
it's like Vic and Bob, Adam and Joe, and just 90s shit, all of it. So, and that was just me just doing that, but it was my job, and it was yet another one of the moments where I was like, fuck me, I've got a very charmed life. So
yeah,
really
I'll go and check it out. I've seen snippets of it. It seemed funny, but I'll go back and watch it. Cool. Well, thank you very much finally to you lot for listening to this podcast. Oh, what lovely ears you've got, Grandma. Anyway, thank you, and we will see you next week. Well, hopefully I'll be slightly less off kilter. Anyway.
Slightly more Dark Soulsy.
Slightly more Dark Soulsy. And then you can look forward to months and months of me talking about nothing but Dark Souls, as is the tradition whenever a Dark Souls game comes out. Thank you very much for listening. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.